Right, just in all those women you saw there running for the deputy leader's job, it would be unheard of for that position in the Liberal Party to go to anyone who's not in the lower house. Of that four, the only one there is Susan Lee. So we'll see what happens. All right, for more on the Prime Minister's first big effort on the global stage, let's cross now to Tokyo to Sky News Political Editor Andrew Clennell, who was at today's Quad meeting. Well, Andrew, I tell you, I've spent too many times sitting around these boring, terrible meetings. We know he was briefed by the experts on the plane. We know that he was likely to read someone else's speech, but politics at this sort of level is very personal, and how the leaders interact with each other is very helpful for countries down the track. You were in the room. How did the new Prime Minister go?
He went fine. He was welcomed warmly, Peter, and you know, might have to do with the fact that the US president's from the same wing of politics, if you like. So it seemed to me he got on well with the leaders. It was one of those moments where you just become Prime Minister into this sort of meeting. You can't believe your luck almost. That's what I felt from Anthony Albanese's demeanour. And it was really a good opportunity for him to appear Prime Ministerial and to meet these leaders. He's got a lot to learn, obviously, in the job, but there were no fumbles today. I thought it went pretty seamlessly, and he'd have to be happy with how it went.
Yeah, I have to say, I say they're terrible meetings. They're not terrible meetings, but they are interminable. They're highly staged. The only time you get a bit of colour and movement is the press conference. We saw that this afternoon, that press conference in Tokyo. There was discussion, Andrew, about what Joe Biden had just earlier said in relation to Taiwan. Again, he was bolshy on Taiwan. Again, the White House had to try and walk that back. I couldn't follow what this means for Australia. I know there were pointed questions to Anthony Albanese that if the US goes in and has to defend Taiwan against China, are we in as well? Can you enlighten us?
Well, I reckon we are. I mean, history tells us that under governments of both colour. But I just don't think he wanted to inflame matters further. I mean, I'll just give you an example. The red line comment by Morrison about the Solomons. It came after the Americans said it. So we just seem to go with whatever they're saying. You're quite right in saying Biden walked it back, said the position on Taiwan hasn't changed after saying because he was asked directly if America would intervene militarily if they were invaded. He just goes, yes, but I don't think it'll happen, he says. So today it's just, he's come up with this line, we're sticking with it, we have the same policy on Taiwan. Albanese just copied him.
And it's a quick trip, I know. He'll be back pretty shortly. We know the caucus is yet to meet to decide his ministry. Domestic events, though, have intervened today. There's been a boat turned back, the first under Labor. We know there was another one on election day on Saturday. Two boats, in 72 hours. Critics are saying tonight this is a lot to do with Labor's decision to scrap TPVs, meaning if these boats get into Australia, into our waters, on our mainland, they slip past border protection, that means people are well and truly on the legal track to stay here. This issue hasn't gone away.
No, and we haven't even got the TPV legislation yet, have we? So it hasn't. But I'll tell you what I reckon the worst nightmare for Conservatives is, Peter. That's if you have a true centre-right government under Albanese, which is lockstep with the Liberals on China and lockstep with the Liberals on boats. It just makes things a lot more difficult. Previously in government, all Scott Morrison had to do was point to Labor's many mistakes in office, particularly on the boats issue. If they can hold it together on these two fronts and stay centre-right, then they're probably in a reasonable position, notwithstanding the fact their biggest challenges, I think, which will be the challenge for any government, will be on the economy.
Yeah, spot on. We'll see what happens. TPVs are by regulation, I think, so that might change sooner rather than later, but we'll see. Thank you, Andrew Clennell. Enjoy the trip home.